Hey y'all, I am working on the next step of the Battleship Texas project, and that step is to actually pour the river with epoxy for the ship to actually sit in, so it looks like it's sitting on water. And I already got the ship set in the mold on the very bottom layer, attached with CA glue so it doesn't move or float once I pour this liquid in there. Let me show you what colors we're going to use. I have turquoise, blue, and Caribbean. I got my epoxy right here set up ready to receive the color pigments, and I'm going to mix it together and then we're going to go pour it. So let's pour some colors. Alright, so first color is going to be blue. Sorry about the focusing on there. So we're just going to pour pretty good amount in there because it's a lot of epoxy and we got to get it really filled in so it doesn't look too translucent. That's pretty good amount of blue, I think, and we're going to mix it up and see what it looks like, and if it needs more then we'll add more to it. The next color we're going to use is Caribbean, so it lightens it up a little bit. This blue is actually kind of dark, so I want to add quite a bit of this Caribbean color, and we're going to pour that right here. There we go. I think that's pretty good. I'll go a tad bit more. And I'm just kind of like guesstimating the amount here. So there we go. We got Caribbean. And then our last color, I'm going to use turquoise, but very little turquoise because it has a lot of green in it. It's pretty dark and it will really overpower the other colors and try to like dominate. I don't want that. So we're going to do a little bit of turquoise. So we're going to put that right here. About that much, a tad bit more. There we go. So that way you'll see hints of green, but it won't like overpower. Let me move this light so you can see better. There we go. Might got a little reflection there. My favorite part of doing the epoxy is this step that I'm about to do right here, and that's mix the colors and then pouring it. Pouring it is probably my favorite. Let me see if I can adjust the light higher because I need the drill. I have a drill here with a paddle on it, and I'm just using this to mix. So let's mix. I'm just going to put it down here on the bottom, and we're going to turn it on and wait for the pigment to suck in down. That's like my favorite part of watching this. There, it's about to go. Get the rest of it in there. It's going. There's usually a spot where it just like all dunks. This one's barely gradually going in a little at a time. It's almost all, there we go. All of it's in there. Let me go with my left hand so I'm not blocking the light. You just mix around, make sure all the pigment gets incorporated to the clear. And I'm going to have to mix up the walls to get all the sides scraped off. I use this paddle on the bottom to scrape the bottom, which is, you can hear it right here scraping the bottom. Come up a little bit. Now I'm going to come out right here and let it splatter off so I can put it over here on above this other bucket so it drips onto that and it doesn't get everywhere. That's going to be a pretty cool color. And I'm going to use this popsicle stick right here, and I'm just scrape the walls right here and try to get all those pigments off the walls. And there's lots of clear that's on the wall that did not get incorporated into the pigment, so I got to scrape the clear that's off the walls, break the surface tension, and this further mixes it up. And there's a good way, and I'm going to show you this little test to see if your pigment, or how well your pigment mixed in, and that's to see if it's opaque or solid or like translucent or transparent, whatever you want to call that. So what you do, you just kind of mix it up a little bit here, and you can look at your stick. And if you can see the wood through the stick, then it's not mixed up very well. Like right here, it's breaking over the edges. You can see the top edge. The other thing is to watch the drips. If you think you can see through it, like in the light, then it's translucent. But if it's solid, you won't have that. So you mix it up, and I just kind of play with it on the stick and see. Even if it's a little translucent, when you look over the edges there, that's okay, because the bottom layer inside the mold right now already is blue. So it'd be okay for this one, because it would just be like a 3D effect. But this is so thick right here, and when it pours in, I'm pouring in a 1/2 inch thick. It is so thick, you're not going to be able to see all the way through it, so it's going to look solid anyway and not translucent or transparent. But that's a pretty color. I like it. I'm going to go pour it in the mold next. Let me just clean this up, and we're going to do that process right after this. But got to hit it with the temperature. I got 83. You see I got an IR in there, a little red dot. I just shot it. You want to have it around 90 or more. Not like a whole lot more, like 120. I mean, if it's 120, you better pour it, because that's overheated at that point. But I usually pour between 90 and 105. I don't like to get near 100. That's a little too hot, and it starts doing its exothermic reaction pretty quickly. And you lose a lot of working time with it. So I usually like to pour it about 90 to 95 degrees. And right now, with this being at 82, we still got almost 10 more degrees to go. So a way to speed that up is just mix it a little bit more. That helps incorporate the pigments being mixed in to the epoxy. Or just leaving it alone too as well, because part A and B, part B, part A, part B, A and B, however you want to call it, they will do a chemical reaction once they're combined together, such as in this bucket here, and the exothermic reaction will cause it to start to cure, but it heats up first. It gets up to a certain temperature, and then it starts to harden, gets gummy. Anyway, let's mix it up one more time, and then we'll go down there and pour. And you can kind of see some of the dark around the edges on the outside, and then it's lighter in the middle. That's just the pigments in the way that they work. Some dark, the way they, what am I trying to say here? I don't even know what I'm trying to say. You kind of see how I'm making the circle, and it leaves a black line behind it. It depends how dense and where the line is what happens with it. It leaves it darker. So whenever it starts to cure, it's kind of cool, because it kind of just randomizes. And it just has a really cool different effect in there. And this is dripping more because I didn't let it splatter around when I pulled it out. And I just want to show you, if it's dripping a lot, I don't want to waste that much epoxy. So when you get done mixing it, I usually just pull out and keep letting it spin so it splatters on the walls of this container. Like so. I'll show you. Look at that. That looks really cool. I could sit here and watch this almost all day long. That right there is pretty mesmerizing to me. All right, here we go. I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to show you. I just pull out slowly, and then let the splatter hit the walls right here for about 5-10 seconds. That way I know a lot of the epoxy is off of my paddle. And then it's not constantly dripping here. So I know that I'm not going to be wasting a lot of extra epoxy. So that looks pretty good right there. I got my little heat gun. If I wanted to, I could like pop the bubbles like so. And you can see little craters that it caused. Those are just the bubbles that popped. Leaves a little darker cellulose look to it. It looks pretty cool. But let's go down and pour now. 94. It's time to pour. Let's go. All right, here we are. Here's the mold. You got the borders, deck wood from the ship. The first layer is real thin. I got the ship in here. It's not going anywhere because I CA glued it in. Now we're about to pour. So let's do the fun part. The mix was pretty fun, but this is the funner part. I'm gonna make sure that I got it pretty focused over here, because this is the best part of the entire thing. I don't want to overdo it either, so I gotta keep an eye on the level where it's gonna be at on the ship, because I don't want to pour it too high and it look like the ship starts sinking. And I have this board level. Yeah, you're definitely not seeing through this because I got enough in there. But look at this. Look how cool this is. I might have over poured, but I poured enough. I'm trying to get this just to the bottom of the 35 that's on the back, because it's slightly lower than the 35 that I have up on the front. I know it's not to scale. I had to go as close as I could with the decals without it overdoing it. I'm just sorry, I'm mesmerized as I'm pouring here. I like to just enjoy the moment. Make sure I have enough everywhere, you know. I'm trying to get all the red covered up, because I can see the rudder back there, and that's actually supposed to be underwater. And this blue epoxy here is supposed to symbolize the water. Looks like it's an actual river, maybe not an actual river, but river epoxy. I can't really see what's going on the outside that I'm pouring over here, because this thing's on a box. There we go. Let's see what that looks like. Just look around at it. Looks pretty good right here. It's just on solid black line over here, right at the bottom of the number. Rudder's covered. Looks pretty good. I think I'm just gonna pour it just ever so slightly, a tad bit more. And then I have quite a bit left over actually. So I'm just gonna go pour that into a cross mold and just make a cross out of the same color here. There we go. That looks pretty good right there. Now again, I know this is not to scale. Pretty hard to be 100% accurate. I mean, I could if I wasted a lot more time trying to be perfect, but I'm running out of time. This project's got to be turned in like 2 to 3 weeks, and I don't want to be behind schedule, so this is just gonna have to work for now. You can see I actually have a cross mold here, and I make little baseball keychains, so I got a little keychain mold here. But let me pull this phone off and show you. We're gonna let this set up for a little bit, but I can't show too much because I got to go pour this epoxy in the cross mold before it gets too hot. So we got some bubbles under there trying to escape. You know what to fix that? Heat, pop, goes the bubble. But check that out though. I mean, sorry about the shadow. Look how cool that is. Let me zoom in. You see the Texas, the 35 is reflected off the epoxy. So it's barely covered there. You got the front one. And I can't really see the other side, so I'm not even going to try to show that. But it's pretty cool. I'm going to keep coming back every 10 minutes or so, and I'm going to torch this out like so, because you can see it pops bubbles. And we don't want bubbles in here. So I'm going to do that every 10-15 minutes for the next hour. And then I'm also going to come back and put some waves in. So it'll look like it's going through water, like actually pushing water. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, checking this out. I appreciate it. And give me a second and I will pour some more into this if you want to watch that. All right, here we go. I'm gonna pour just a little bit of this in here. Oh, it's kind of hard to see with the shadow, sorry. Whoa, that's a little too much. That ain't gonna work. I ain't gonna fly. Hold on, I don't wanna get epoxy everywhere like I just did. This is the part that sucks, is when you overpour. Dang it, where'd my rag go? I had a rag on here. Oh, here it is right behind me. Let me wipe my hands off real quick because I don't want to get this everywhere. I'm going to dump this back out real quick, actually. Right back into the bucket. It's going to overflow, but when it overflows on the edges like this, not a problem because I can just peel it off when it cures. I just don't want that to be too thick, because if it's too thick, it won't look right as a keychain. That's why you gotta be real careful with it. You don't want to overdo it. All right, there we go. That should level out pretty good. Here we go. Make a cross. There we go. And I have a lot of epoxy left over in this bucket here. Shoot, what am I sitting at? 16 ounces. That's a whole soda. I'm gonna go pour that into a bigger mold. So if you want to see that, stay tuned. I'm gonna pause the video and we're gonna go do that. All right, here we are at the big cross now. I'm going to pour this cross out, or the epoxy out, into this cross mold. Try to get some good light for y'all over here. See, it's always better to not overpour, but overmix, like mix more than what you need, so you don't come up short. And you have all these molds laying around for stuff like this, so when you have extra, you can actually make more, versus having to mix up more epoxy because you didn't pour enough. I might have to grab another mold. I don't know, maybe not. This probably fit all into here. I don't know, maybe. This is getting full already, and I still got a little bit left. This is gonna be a thick cross right here. What's the cool blue though? Yeah, I'm just gonna force it all into this one. It's gonna be the thickest cross I've ever poured here. Man, this thing's filling up. And like a while ago when I was doing that baseball keychain, I gotta stop right about here because I don't want to overflow. I mean, if it does barely overflow, once it cures, I can actually trim the edges with my router. And that'll clean that up. That's what's left in the bucket, just barely anything. I have a coaster mold. I can probably pour this into a coaster, but I just want to show you this. We'll hit this with the torch, pop some bubbles. There you go. One more time real quick. Lower the heat. I'm probably going to come back in with the alcohol, which I don't have up here with me right now, and just spray it. And that helps cool it down, and it pops the bubbles, and it makes it look really cool. So anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in and checking out the Battleship pour. That's going to be really, really cool when it's done. And then also checking out these overflow pours into these molds with the cross and the baseball. Let me show you some samples of the baseballs I've been making. I got some that are already done. Some that are still in process here. Made different kinds, different colors. So that's what I do. instead of wasting it and throwing it away, I just pour them into these little molds because this ain't much. And I can make little knickknacks and keychains and stuff out of the leftovers, like what's in the bucket there. So anyway, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna leave you with this. Check it out. That's a pretty color. Thanks for watching.